So, welcome to a Black Women's Apothecary. My name's Dr. Alysia. This is
Hi,
Tara,
Sarah.
Tara,
Fine.
Tara from PCOS Journal, and we're going to get very deep into PCOS today. I'm very excited. Thank you so much for being here, Tara.
Of course.
Okay, so we'll just get started with a little bit of your backstory. Can you just tell us, about how you got into PCOS, your journey through it, if you ever had a journey through it, and then what you specialize in?
Yeah, of course. So I am a registered dietitian and I do not have PCOS, but I see it was probably about 4-ish years ago, I started getting calls from all these women who were explaining something that I didn't really know about, that I didn't really learn about in school, and this condition called PCOS. And there were a lot of tears, and I can remember there was 3 phone calls I did with new clients to see if they wanted to onboard with me where, I mean, they just broke down. And what is happening? Because in the course of, like, 3 to 6 months, I was getting more and more women that were reaching out to me wanting help, and what I knew just kinda scratched the surface. I knew the basics. But from talking to all of them, I could tell they were not getting the help they needed when they went to see their doctor. As you know, there's a lot of gaslighting and dismissive behavior that's happening in medicine right now, especially in women's health issues, but particularly in PCOS, because I hear it every damn day from my clients.
Yeah.
And it just broke my freaking heart. And it was like, just once you know something, you can't look away. You can't say, okay, I don't know about this anymore. And I just was like, I just felt a pull on my heart. I don't know how else to say it, of like, okay, this is something this is a place I need to serve. I love serving women and I love serving men too, but we're just not doing women justice in healthcare. You know that. I know you are, but I mean, that's the whole reason why you're here, right? Is to
Yeah.
have this conversation for women's health. And so I just started reading the research and like, obviously, we need more research. We don't have a lot, but what we do have, I found that like none of it was getting put into practice except for metformin
Right.
and birth control. And I'm like, okay, this is not okay, because if you look at the research, nutrition and lifestyle are recommended as frontline interventions for PCOS. And just lose weight and eat less and move more is not medical advice. It's not nutrition advice. And so it honestly, I just fell into it. I didn't plan on it, but the more I connected with these women, I don't know. I just want to help. I just want to serve in this community because these women they're so underserved that they're dealing with one of the most distressing, stealing their femininity with the physical symptoms. Misunderstood, judged by the body they live in, just from someone looking at them, not knowing what they're dealing with, and that the fact that they're overweight, or if they are overweight, is because they have PCOS, not the other way around. These women need compassion, and like oftentimes, like I'm the first person who ever listens to them and listens to their journey, and is like, I see you, I hear you, and I believe you. And that there's so much value in that for a woman when it comes to her health. So that's a really long-winded answer. Yeah.
No, thank you. It's so interesting to hear your experience with it because, you know, my training was primarily in like Western medicine. And so when I would be like in clinic and with patients who are coming in with PCOS, and it was exactly that when I was in my training, like, okay, let's give them metformin, let's put them on something that suppresses their cycle, and you're good. Just change your diet and like go home. And what's so interesting is that when I switched my perspective, I started getting more into writing and research. That's when I started learning about all of the holistic avenues that PCOS has, all of the different layers to PCOS, and that, that's not always the best thing for someone. And so, Western medicine has this idea that like there is literally like one thing that's going to fix all, and PCOS is such a good condition to explain that that is not true.
It really is. It's so complicated, and like every woman presents, as you know, like so unique,
Yeah.
all the factors that influence things.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's very complex. That's the right word for
Yes.
PCOS.
It's so complex. And so, you know, that leads us into kind of like my first question, which is can we just go through the types of PCOS for everyone who's on this call so
Mhm.
that we can just, you know, clarify that there's not just one type of PCOS, it is all of these different things. So let's do that.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of bad information out there on typing, and I get really I get really irritated because women in PCO in this space, they have to wade through so much misinformation on a daily basis, so much predatory marketing that like this just like oversimplifies things. It's not really that helpful. So I can tell you the ones that are not based in any kind of science. I've looked, I continue to look because I'm always open to changing my opinion if I'm presented with new evidence. But let's first get out of the way what's not PCOS. Postpartum PCOS, in my opinion, in my professional opinion, is not PCOS. It is a temporary condition that comes after getting off the birth control, in which androgens rebound, right? Sex hormone binding globulin goes down, and so we have androgenic symptoms. And we know PCOS is a lifelong condition, so you don't just have it coming off the cycle or the birth control pill and then it just evaporates. It's just not scientifically correct, and it kind of misleads people to where, oh, I have it and I don't have it, or I have it and I can get rid of it. No, you and PCOS are gonna be lifelong homies, and you have to like make peace and like learn how to live with her, not thinking that she's just gonna go away one day. So that really kind of frustrates me because that's not a thing. I don't know your opinion on that. That's my opinion.
No, I agree. I think that there is a role for post birth control side
Mm,
effects
yeah.
that,
Mhm.
will go away, but those are not in any means like categorized under other conditions of women's health. Like that is its own bracket. And yeah.
100%. 100%. I've seen thyroid PCOS be, and actually it's kind of bad because there's a really well-known dietitian in this space who has like hundreds of thousands of followers. And she talks about thyroid PCOS. I'm like, oh, that's not a PCOS. That's like a condition that's happening alongside of PCOS. So we're like trust dietitians. And then some of us are out there like just spewing some really, really incorrect information. So when it comes to types, if you want to look at it that way, certainly insulin resistance is playing a role in like up to 80%, and it's driving a lot of the syndrome. We can also have adrenally based PCOS, in which those male hormones are being put out by the adrenals instead of the ovaries. But then I see this whole inflammatory PCOS, kind of characterization, and I'm like, well, all the research I've read says that inflammation is just present in PCOS, no matter how you slice it, to varying degrees, of course. So we know that the insulin resistance drives inflammation, right? We know that androgenism drives inflammation. All of these things are like affecting them and each other in a vicious cycle. So it's not like you fit into one neat little category, which would be nice, but it's just not that simple. So when I dove into the research and I started seeing these typing, and I was like, okay, I need to learn about this for myself. I did not find that anywhere in the literature as far as like typing PCOS into these neat little silos. What I
Right.
did find was phenotypes, the PCOS phenotypes. And this is based on the diagnostic criteria, which are polycystic ovaries, high androgens or clinical signs of them, and the irregular ovulation menstrual cycles. So the phenotypes are based on which of these criteria you have. So phenotypes A and B are considered classic. They are going to exhibit the most severe metabolic, risk for type 2 diabetes, heart disease. They tend to have higher risk for more adverse risks in pregnancy. But type A has all three. Type
Okay.
B does not have polycystic ovaries, but has the androgens and the ovulatory dysfunction. And so these are where most people are going to fit into these two categories. Then we have ovulatory PCOS, which is type C, which is high androgens, polycystic ovaries, but no irregular cycles. So these women ovulate regularly. They don't have any issues there. And these carry a lower metabolic risk. And then we have type D, which is non-hyperandrogenic. And some people argue that this is not a type, but it's on here nonetheless, where they don't have the high androgens, but they have the polycystic ovaries and the disrupted ovulation menstrual cycles. And so this is going to carry like the lowest risk for those metabolic issues, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, all those. So this is what I found when I looked at the research is the phenotypes. And then it's so interesting you asked me this because do you follow Fran at the PCOS newsletter?
Yeah.
She's amazing. And she just released this article yesterday. Like this question was timely.
Yay.
I had not seen this study. It came out just in late October. And it was interesting because they followed 12,000 women, which is like a huge study cohort. And not just in one place. It was China, USA, Europe, Singapore, and Brazil. And they uncovered 4 phenotypes that kind of emerged, and they were using the subtyping to help with IVF, like what strategies for IVF. You have to read the study. Go to the PCOS newsletter. She did a pretty concise coverage of this article, and it just kind of informs how what interventions might work best for the different phenotypes. So for you, it's hyperandrogenic, obesity, high sex hormone binding globulin, and high LH-AMH. And so those were the subtypes that they identified, which was like so fascinating. Like this brand new information, this brand new study, like looks like a great 12,000 women. And they followed, I think, 5,000 or so of these women over 6 years. And most of them stayed in their category over that time. So that was
so interesting.
Very interesting. I think what the typing does is it oversimplifies things for people. What you want to know is like what's driving your symptoms. Like that's casting a wide net with your labs, right? Finding out where they're coming from. We know DHEAS is only made in the adrenals. So if that's high, the adrenals are really involved in what's going on. If you have high insulin, to the degree of what your insulin looks like, we know that that's really driving the bus. If you've got high, inflammatory markers, we know that that's really significant for you. So I think the typing is like, I get why people want to type and it can be helpful to some degree, but I think the internet really oversimplifies that. And like, here's the 3 things you need to do to hang your hat on. It's just not how it works. So anyway, so that's kind of how I look at the PCOS typing. And that was just a really timely study that and so shout out to her. She's so awesome.
Yes.
I'll follow her. You absolutely should. She's awesome.
Yeah. So let's just say that again. So that's Fran at the PCOS newsletter.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
And yeah, she's really great. I also follow her. So thank you so much for explaining that, because that is definitely something that I see in people who are more in like the holistic side and maybe don't kind of cross over as much into the research. And so thank you so much for clarifying that for people, because I think that also is why within like Western medical context, like you don't get as much support within nutrition because, you've got all of these other holistic people out here with these models that like aren't necessarily supported by research.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's like a marriage of both things, right? There's people in all spaces doing good work, but like at the end of the day, we do have to be evidence-based. And I'm all for like traditional ancient practices. Like I'm open arms to all those.
We love the ancient practices with research behind them.
We do. And I think there's, wisdom. Like I love tuning into like ancient wisdom and things. And it's fun when the science comes along to back those things up. But yeah, we have to operate within what we know, because if we don't, then we're not helping people. We're just making content that doesn't mean anything. So.
Yes. I feel the same. And I think like when I was younger and still kind of feeling out how holistic I wanted to be, how much into like ancestral practices and just holistic ideas and concepts I wanted to get into, it was really hard for me to understand that like one can exist without the other. And it's okay if something's just like majorly holistic and there's maybe no research for it. If you feel, that is something that's supporting you, then that's okay. And there's areas for both things, and not everything needs to fall under the bracket of both,
Yeah. Do you know Lily Nichols' work?
Who?
Lily Nichols.
Oh, no.
Lily Nichols is I just hold her in such high regard. She is one of the most brilliant dietitians I've ever encountered, and she has an amazing book called Real Food for Pregnancy and Real Food for Gestational Diabetes, and she has she's changed the pregnancy nutrition recommendations in several countries just from her research and her work. And just speaking to like your end stressful comment there is that she, talks about the science for how in culture